Beautiful, it's good to go. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to Work, Play, Obsession, Life, and Jiu Jitsu. So first off, guys, let me start by thanking you for your continued support, and for those of you that I see in the gyms or on the streets or whatever that have made comments or said they listened to the podcast or they've learned something through the podcast, or it was just a really pleasure meeting you guys out there. Continue to dial in, continue to send me photos wearing the t-shirts, and obviously continue training out there, okay? This week we have our special, second special collaboration with Trapp BJJ, elite video instruction by top black belts from around the world. So guys, with Trapp BJJ, you get step-by-step Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques right at your fingertips, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on all Apple and Android devices for you Android fans out there. And videos are updated weekly, and you can tag and download your favorite videos for online use later on. And you can go back there and reference them, find out where you're making your mistakes, or ask your friends and buddies about how you can improve. If you're new to the show, guys, first of all, thank you for being here. And whether you were brought here via Trapp BJJ or you just simply clicked the wrong tiny URL and you were searching for some other kind of material, if you came here through Snapchat or Instagram, thank you. If you don't know about us, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or visit our website at workplayobsessionbjj.com for past episodes, photos, videos. There's a bunch of stuff on there, guys, so feel free to look over there. So my guest today, sitting to my right, is Malyjasiak. How close was I?
Not really.
Oh, guys, I just rehearsed this about 4 or 5 times before we went live, and I still butchered it. So I will let you correct it. But first, before we do that, let's go with a little bit about your past, how you got started, and a proper pronunciation.
Okay, so my name is Malyjasiak, and I started Jiu Jitsu after already training judo for a few years and being in a national team for grappling for Poland. Some of my friends from the team told me that there will be a competition where I can win a ticket and go to Abu Dhabi, and I was like, let's try. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna compete at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I gotta learn the rules.
Right.
So I started training for like 2 months and then went for the trials, won my ticket, and that made me really happy that I cried. I was so happy that I cried. That happened second time in my life then. And I was like, okay, I guess time to switch from judo to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So that made you want to make the transition over from one to the other?
Yeah, because another thing is like, I've been like in judo for many years then, and I was in national team for many years, and I would never be chosen to like represent my country, even when I was like a national champion. And that really hurt me, like, you know, that the coach, I guess, didn't like me or whatever, that they wouldn't give me a chance to go. They would always pick someone else from my weight class, even if that person wasn't the Poland champion. So that really makes you not want to keep going. And if there is something, you know, you find something better, something new, you can learn new stuff. And I guess that's why. And the fact that I was so happy that I won something more than a medal made me want to try and change.
No, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So let me ask you this. I was thinking about it. You kind of covered it a little bit, but how did you arrive at judo? And I don't know what's the biggest sport in Poland, so you can educate me on that. But how did you arrive there from all the other activities and things going on?
So I got into judo after going to a new school. I met then my judo coach at the school because we were supposed to have a swimming pool lesson, but the swimming pool was closed, and they took us for a walk. And one of my friends was already training judo, and she was like walking with the coach, and I was walking with them, and he told me, hey, instead of going to Pizza Hut once a month, you can come and train judo for a month. And I was like, oh. And I went there, fell in love with judo from the first class, and all I could think about was like, oh, I'm going to judo on Wednesday, or on Saturday. I was already thinking it's Sunday and I'm gonna go to judo on Monday, like the next day, but then it was one day in between, and I was like so excited to keep training and doing it. That's
pretty interesting, because I think if I had the choice between Pizza Hut or judo or any training whatsoever, I'd probably be in Pizza Hut. But okay, that's you know, that's a sound choice, and it seems like it's gotten you, you know, pretty far along down the road now. Tell us about, I guess, your transition from Poland to the U.S. How did that happen? So after getting a second place in Abu Dhabi in 2012,
when I had a final with Gabi Garcia. Robert Drysdale came to Poland for the summer camp, and he said, hey, he told the boss for Drysdale Jiu Jitsu in Poland that they have to make it happen to send me the next year to go to America to compete at Worlds.
Okay.
So like the people from Poland helped me with the ticket and got me the ticket, and Robert took care of me in Las Vegas. That's how I started. Like that was my first trip to America. And when I came there, I met Abmar and fell in love and decided to come back.
Right. So that brought you from. So were you ever in Vegas for a long time, or did you went from Poland, did a visit, then back to Poland, then over this way?
The first time I came for a month, because every time you plan like a trip like that far away and you have a chance to go and it's already like covered and everything, I planned my trip for a month. I was there for I think 2 weeks before for the camp and then 2 weeks afterwards. And then me and Abmar, we decided to start our life together in Las Vegas. So we lived there for like about 6 months, and then we decided to go back to Virginia.
Okay. Now, so I guess mostly in Virginia and a little bit that time in Vegas. How much has the game changed, or what do you see different between the jiu-jitsu you learned in Poland versus what you've learned or how you've evolved here in the States?
When I was training in Poland, I can't say that I was a guard player or whatever. I always wanted to like learn spider guard. Like the first time I went to a seminar and I saw it, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. But I was told that I have too short and too fat legs to do spider guard, and I was like, whatever. They were like laughing at me from trying to do spider guard.
Right.
And like after I met Abmar and we started training together and everything, I managed to like play guard, which doesn't happen very often with like heavyweights, right? And people would be surprised after a few years when I would like, instead of doing stand-up, which I was expected to do, especially because I was doing judo before, started pulling guard. All of those girls were like, what is she doing? So that's a big change that happened in my game, that I can play guard and I can still pass guard.
Right.
Even like Robert Drysdale told Abmar that he made a miracle happen, that I am playing guard, so yeah, I guess that's the biggest difference.
And so is that your preference still, the spider guard? And
I like play spider guard, but right now I play more, I think, de la Hiva with like X and stuff. Like I mix those. I use spider more to like create space or to like recover and everything. I don't really sweep much from spider guard, I think.
So you mentioned that having your judo background. Now, looking at the women's competitive scene, is there more a majority of like guard pullers and bottom game, or do you get to actually use your judo a lot?
I don't use my judo at all right now.
I've watched, so I know.
Yeah, I'm like, if you wanna do stand up, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pull. If they wanna pull, they can pull. But if they don't wanna pull, I'm like, I'm not losing time dancing with you on the mat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense, and we've seen that before, where the kind of the words you use, you see guys or gals lose, 2 or 3 minutes dancing around, trying, for one takedown, or it could be, kind of stalling in their mind, and you just kind of get right to it. So we talked about training in Poland, training in the U.S., the evolution of your training. And we talked about it in the green room, since we don't really have a green room here, but before we went live, about different methods of training. Right? So we're going to get into Trapp a little bit in a little bit, and online training. But let's talk about your, prior to Trapp, your preference or your method of training. What did that look like for you?
For me, I just come to the gym 5 days a week and I do what I'm told to do. Or if I'm the person who has to teach the class, I do what I show. Yeah. And try to, if for example, if it's a position that I do and I teach that position, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to do it on the left side. So my left side is getting better, because I wasn't doing that for a while. Especially when I was training judo, I would never do left side because it felt really like weird, like I was a robot.
Like a robot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, what do you think about, not what do you think about, but how much exposure, because we'll get to that part later, but how much exposure did you have to, or how much was your game built on seminars, open mat type deals, or was it just your main gym and your main training and that was it?
So when I was white belt, blue belt, purple belt, I would go to as many seminars as I could, especially when I lived in Poland. When there were any people coming to Poland, we would like drive in for 4 hours or more just to go to a seminar to learn something new. I believe that every coach has their own game and they show their own stuff mostly. Like they might try to show other techniques because they want their students to evolve and learn all the other things. But
right.
I think it's really important to go to seminars to see other people's games that because it can affect later your game. Like you can go to a seminar, see like spider guard, or you can come to the seminar with me today, see the stuff I do and say, whoa, this is cool, this is what I want to do. Like what I just said about the spider guard.
Yep.
I was like, whoa, I want to do spider guard. And then, you know, I really wanted to do it. And I was trying. People at my gym were laughing at me, but honestly, if somebody is laughing at you from the stuff that you want to do, maybe you should think about finding another place to train, you know?
Yeah, someone that's going to support what you actually
you can't listen to other people telling you there's something that you can't do because, I don't know, because your legs are too short or too long, too fat or too skinny, you know? If you want to do something, just do it, and after, you know, practicing it a lot, it will come to you and it will work.
So, okay, I was going to ask you, so I did mention we're going to get into the trap part of it a little bit. So from my recollection, someone will correct me if I'm wrong out there, I think you're the first female instructor on trap. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Looking at that, are we going to see a lot of that famous spider guard that's out there now? For me, actually, I'm a fan of your knee bars. So that's my personal thing. I am a tall and lanky guy who also plays spider guard. I was actually told you should be playing spider guard because I'm so tall. So I'm interested in that, but is that something that we're going to find on trap?
I think there are some basic spider guard stuff, and there's more de la X in there. Yeah.
That's cool.
And some passing too.
So for those of you guys and gals out there, if that's what you're interested in, or if you've never really been exposed to it, it's a great place to start, great place to reference. But that kind of dovetails into the next piece. What part of the mission with Trap is not only are you exposed to the lessons and the techniques that the instructors are providing on the video, but the effort is to bring the instructors out to seminars, much like we're doing today. So you have exposure to Malyjasiak's techniques and kind of mindset on the videos, but here today we're also doing a seminar for a few hours to actually get to say, hey, I've seen this spider guard video on Trap, I've watched it 100 times, but I think I'm missing these details. Can you help me with that? So I think that's great, and that kind of goes into what you talked about, where you have some of it on. Yes, go ahead. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, you can like see, even like you can see another techniques on the internet. Let's say you go to Trapp, see my techniques or somebody else's techniques, and then you're gonna be like, oh, I think this is gonna be really cool for me, and then maybe you can find like the seminar of that person in the area, or somebody else. You can find somebody else who does that stuff and go to their seminar. So I think that's another way to do it. And there wasn't, when I was like a white, blue, purple belt, there wasn't that there. So
right. So I know we discussed your preference to train at the academy and just continue to go there and kind of steer away from some of the other methods of training out there. So what are some of the pitfalls that you've seen of people who kind of train more by video and don't do the mix? I'm going to let you talk about that because I know we said it's a... Yeah,
that's another thing that happens in Jiu Jitsu a lot. There's many people who are like fans, more like fans or whatever, or more like, oh, I'm going to... Like, let's say you are a white belt and then you see a berimbolo on the internet and you're like, oh, I'm going to learn the berimbolo. No, you got to first learn the basic stuff in the class, listen to your coach. After you get like to a, let's say, purple belt, then you can like, maybe you will know so what your game is going to be and what you should look for, or another techniques that you should look for to learn, you know. I think that's the way it should be. I understand, like, that's really cool that there are techniques online that you can see and check and like, let's say, review what you did in class or at a seminar, but I wouldn't recommend to white belts going on YouTube and looking for techniques that are too advanced for them. Let's say, like, first you gotta learn the basic stuff and then keep going.
Right. So, and that's, I specifically asked that question because we discussed it earlier, but two, it's kind of I'll say the beauty of Trap is what we mentioned earlier, is not only do you have exposure to the techniques via the online, or if you download them, offline videos and techniques, but you're going to be exposed to the actual instructors that are providing the techniques by visiting the seminars that they provide, or visiting some of the other events that are going to be provided. So I think you have kind of both sides of it. It's not only watching the video, but you have exposure to these
you can ask questions and find your mistakes, let's say, at the techniques you already tried.
No, I think that's great, and because a lot of times, as we discussed, that's what happens. You pull these videos down, and you're missing the details that the instructors will bring you when you actually see them in person. So I think that's great. So multiple accomplishments so far. Congratulations on your PANs this year.
Thanks.
Awesome to watch. Too many things to write down, guys, so I was being lazy, and I was like, I'm just going to kind of gloss over it a little bit. But I do want to ask you, what has been your favorite jiu-jitsu moment thus far? So let me caveat that. It doesn't have to be as a competitor. It can be as a fan. It can be as a teacher. Maybe you had a student who did really well.
So there was many. Like, first, like what I said about the ticket to Abu Dhabi, that was really, no, that's not the first, that's the second. First one was when I was at, I think, Grappling World Championships, and I was fighting Penny Thomas, and I got a knee bar when I was like a brand new blue belt on like a, ADCC medalist, black belt female. I was like crying, I couldn't stop crying, and I was like so happy that I managed to get that. Another one was with the ticket when I already decided to switch to Jiu-Jitsu. Then the next one I would say was the Pan Ams now.
This most recent
one. For if it's about the competition. About my students, like I teach kids class, and I was really happy when parents tell me like that their kids are like doing better at school, for example, because of Jiu-Jitsu, and that's really, really like things that I really love to hear, that I'm doing something right, that it's helping others, that it's not only exercise, but that's also like exercise for the brain, or
No, yeah. Sometimes once you add in that element of training, right, it kind of brings everything together. It brings a little bit of focus. It brings a motivation where like, okay, I'm ready to go train today, and then they have you there, as not only an instructor, but as kind of a mentor and a guide, and they get in that environment around their friends, and it really helps the entire life, not just the jiu-jitsu aspect of it. So I think it's great.
Like for me as a child, when I was training judo, because I started when I was 12 years old, I would hear like after a while I would hear, there was drugs in your school, and I'm like, where? Like I never heard, like I never know, because every single night after school I would go to my judo club and train. There wasn't like, if somebody told me, hey, let's go to a party, I was like, sorry, I can't. I gotta go training. I can maybe go after, like on Friday after my training, and maybe I can go and meet you guys somewhere, but I would never, like it was very important part of my day. Like it was the most important part of my day. Even if I was like sick, I wouldn't go to school. I had to go to judo. I only wouldn't go to judo if I was taking antibiotics, because my mom was like, "Oh, no, now you can't."
No, and you're trying to recover. So let's talk about for a second the competition aspect of it. What do you think is the single most important thing someone can do if they want to be
a competitor?
Yes.
So I don't think there is a single thing. I actually wrote a blog on my blog about.
What is it? What is the blog?
My blog is called littlejohninc.com.
Littlejohninc.com.
Yeah,
not the rapper Little John.
I should change to no. I should. That's actually a translation of my last name to English. So that's why. I should have changed it to Trapp BJJ, but that will take me probably a while. So the thing is, like, I believe there's like a triangle for a success in Jiu-Jitsu. So you gotta have a strength, technique, and like you gotta believe in yourself. That's really important. Like if you have one of those two, you have big chance to be successful. But the most important part of those is to have that belief. Like if you believe in yourself and you're strong, that was me until I came to America and met Abmar, started learning technique a little bit better. You can win. I won words at purple belt when I wasn't very technical. I had my judo base. I had some jiu-jitsu, and I was really strong. and I managed to win world championships and got second place in open class. So that's why I believe that, you know, maybe at a black belt it will be already a little bit more difficult because that's already a little bit different level. But I believe like if you train that long to get to a black belt, you will get technical, you know.
Okay, so one more time for everyone out there, what's the triangle again? One more time.
Strength, technique, and self-belief.
Strength, technique, and self-belief.
Yeah, like what I did now before Pan Ams. 2 weeks before Pan Ams, I wrote on my mirror in the bathroom, 2018 Pan Am champion. So every single day, every single time I would go to the bathroom, I would see myself in the mirror with the writing on top. And it might sound silly, but I believe it really helped me. Like even when I was already in California, I was going to the restroom between the fights. I would see myself in the mirror and I would tell myself, Pan Am champion 2018.
So for all you guys preparing for DC Open, April 7th and 8th, I think it is.
Right into the mirror.
So get going. New York Opens after that. Some of you guys are competing in a fight to win. If you're not already there, here's the triangle. Write it up on your mirror. Get yourself focused. Those are great. What's the blog again? Just for those.
Lil John LYLJOHNINC.com.
Nice. So there's another resource for you out there to follow her blog, and then of course we'll have what's your Instagram again?
I think it's Grumpy BJJ Girl or Grumpy Girl BJJ. It might be Grumpy BJJ Girl. Grumpy _ BJJ Girl.
See, I asked her because I knew I would get it wrong. That's why.
I'm not sure. I'm never sure. I always have to check.
Yep. So those are 2 more resources that you can follow. I like that. I like the triangle. I think that's really good for people to hear and to help them with their mindset. A lot of people don't understand the importance of believing in yourself and the mental aspect.
I don't understand going to competition and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go there and check myself. You're not going to competition to check yourself. You're going there to win.
Yeah.
You can't go and be like, oh, okay, we'll see how it goes. No. If you decide to spend the money for the registration, decide to spend the money for the preparation, decide to spend the money to go there, you can't go and think about, oh, I'm going to check myself. Okay, maybe if you're like, I don't know, some older lady or older guy who just likes to do jiu-jitsu, doesn't want to be a champion or whatever, just wants to support the sport, that's fine. But if you think about being a champion, being the best, then you got to believe that you are the best, that you're going to be the best.
Right. And like I said, with the DC Open coming up and New York Open coming up, I know a lot of people in this area, in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, are competing at those events. I really think that's a great message for them to hear, so they can say, hey, am I training hard enough? Am I mentally preparing hard enough? Am I going to be ready for, 2-3 weeks from now when the rubber's going to meet the road, so to speak? Let me ask you, talking about competition, I know you've done Fight to Win. I saw that one. I think that was a knee bar victory that night as well. What is your preference? So let's say gi, no gi, IBJJF, submission only, ADCC. What's your preference?
Right now it's gi. If you asked me a few years ago, I would probably say no gi. But right now it's my preference definitely is gi. I don't really like to train much no gi right now. Like I train a month before if there is a competition coming up, for a month every single day, but otherwise I don't really do no gi anymore. I think that gi is way more important, and it's a lot easier to go from gi to no gi than going from no gi to gi. Like if you want to compete in gi and in no gi, do gi, take your gi off for a month before the competition, and you're gonna be fine. Because no gi is so much it's really simple. Jiu-Jitsu in the gi is a lot more difficult, and there's a lot of more, grips and everything.
And one more thing, so I'm going to rewind a little bit. So I missed a question that was on here. We were talking about the competition and your victories, your stellar performances. Let's label it as that. What do you think were the key factors that contributed to your success? And we can talk about from the beginning of your judo days, because you were successful in judo as well, up until now.
So I always believed in myself. Up until, I think last year I had a problem. I didn't believe in myself that much, and I didn't get the results I wanted. I had like a little bit kind of difficult time because of the opening the gym and everything. I had to make sure I keep my status here in America, so I had to switch my visa and everything, and it wasn't very easy for me mentally and like mentally, not like I was going crazy, but like it was really hard emotionally, maybe. That would be the right word. And I lost that, and fortunately, after talking to Annette Stack, after she came for a seminar to us, I realized what was the problem, and I started working on that.
So I was actually typing something down as you said it, and I don't want to come across as male chauvinist or anything like that, but I do want to ask this question because many people say women are more emotional than men, right?
True.
So how do you deal with emotions, not you personally, or it could be, on the women's side? Because I've seen it more where I'll say crying as an example. It may not be crying, but how do you deal with that with students? And if you've had to deal with it on a personal level, overcoming those emotions.
If I see any of my students crying or like getting like a panic attack or whatever, I go to them and I talk to them, try calm them down, give them a hug and everything. Because I understand, I had panic attacks before too. So I understand how it works, and I know it's nothing, nice to be going through, and you need someone there to help you with it, For me, there was always someone. If I had my panic attack, there was always someone who would tell me, breathe, calm down, you gotta control it to come out of it and be fine.
And do you think that for an elite level women's competitor, do they need to have a jiu-jitsu woman mentor? Like you mentioned Annette Stack, who a lot of people follow on Instagram. I follow on Instagram. I follow her on Twitter as well. Extremely motivational, hardworking. So I know people can probably reach out to her on Instagram, and the way she is, she'd probably reply. But do you think that, I know they can have like a male coach that's there, but do you think they need to have that female mentor behind them?
I don't think you need to have one. Like I really like Annette after like I met her in person. Like, I was never a fan of anybody before, I was never like, like for example, I would go for competition, my friends would be, like I would go to Abu Dhabi, right, where there's all of those black belts and everything, and my friends would be, can you please ask Bushasha for a autograph? Yeah. And I'm like, and I never did, because this is not something I would do.
Right.
So.
That's interesting. So let's talk about your future goals. What are you looking at right now?
Worlds. Yes.
Nice. And well, we know what that means. That means gold. That means number one. So there's no question to follow that up. How about as an instructor?
As an instructor, I want to keep training with my kids and go compete with them a little bit more, because we competed once, and my kids program is getting bigger right now, but it wasn't very big, and we had we had more than half of my students compete at the first competition, and only one of them didn't get a medal, and I was like, with some of them I was like so surprised, because they in the class they wouldn't show that they're gonna actually make it that far. And then we went to the competition. One of the boys was bleeding during the fight, and he like kept going like crazy, like he's a white belt and he beat up like a orange belt. I was like, and then lost the final in like last 30 seconds by like 2 points.
But it could be, exactly what he said, that mental thing where
he was
believed in himself.
There was like, it was US grappling, so there was no gi first, and he was like, I already want to go, I want to fight, and there was like a few hours too that they had to wait.
Nice.
It was really cute.
That's that mental thing that you referenced. He was mentally prepared and believed in himself, and then that's the results you get, which is sometimes you have people that are on the opposite side who technically are more skilled, but they just don't believe, or they don't have the passion, and they end up losing. So great. So one last question as we kind of wrap it up. What's the time and location of the seminar today? Well, I can answer that question, but I'll let you do it.
We're going to start at 12 o'clock at Ground Control in Columbia, Maryland.
Which is actually where we are right now.
Yes.
So in the front lobby of Ground Control. And I won't spoil it, but if you want to mention some of the things we're going to do today, or do you just say you have to be here to find out?
We're going to do some De La X today.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. So if you weren't already planning on attending, there you go. You have the inside scoop of what's going on today. So maybe you want to hop in your car and drive on over and join us on the mats. So before we wrap up, do you have any sponsors that you'd like to mention?
Yes, I have a sponsor, Hyperfly.
Okay.
That gives me all the amazing gear, and thank you very much for that. I really love their gis. And if you want to get something, you can get a 10% discount writing Grumpy10 on the checkout, the promo code.
Nice. Well, I don't have any sponsors, so if you want to give me free stuff and I'll mention your name on the podcast, I like hats, shirts. I'm wearing my own shirt because I don't have any sponsors. So, but I do have more Workplay Obsession t-shirts, by the way, so hit me up. Workplay Obsession on Instagram, Workplay Obsession on Facebook, Workplay Obsession BJJ.com for the website. Of course, guys, what our mission is, just to remind you, is to bridge the gap between traditional martial arts and combatives for military, law enforcement, and first responders, guys, and to bring it out there across Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. So where can we find you? I know we've mentioned it a few times, but on social media.
Grumpy_BJJ girl on Instagram, and my fan page is Malyjasiak BJJ on Facebook.
All right, guys, so that's pretty much all we have for you today. Thanks for dialing in. Like I said, 12 o'clock, we're going to be going live with the seminar here. So if you're not already signed up and you weren't planning to attend, grab your gi, get in your car, drive on over, and come join us on the mats. It's going to be a great time. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, guys, keep grinding.
See you later.
I think this thing's still rolling. 4, 3, 2, 1-ish.